The Galactic Assembly had grown complacent over the centuries. Humans were confined to a small cluster of systems near the edge of the Orion Arm, their expansion carefully regulated by advanced civilizations that had mastered the cosmos long before Earth's first radio signal leaked into space. Admiral Gray stood at the viewport of the last functioning human warship, watching as the distant lights of the Alliance fleet gathered. The Defiance asterisk was barely operational, her reactor fluctuating and life support systems failing. It had been 3 standard years since the suppression, when the Alliance had deployed their phase-shifted weapons that rendered all human technology inert. "They're hailing us again, sir," Lieutenant Davis reported from the crackling communications console. "Same terms as before." Gray nodded slowly, his weathered face betraying no emotion. Full surrender. Human systems to be administrated by Alliance overseers, restricted travel, resource quotas. He turned away from the viewport. They call themselves merciful. Before the suppression, humanity had been a curiosity, a brash young species that had mastered faster-than-light travel quickly but remained technologically inferior to the elder races. The Alliance tolerated humans because they'd posed no threat, and because human creativity occasionally produced novel technologies worth appropriating. What the Alliance hadn't understood, what no species in the galaxy had grasped, was that humanity's real power had never been technological. "Send the message," Gray ordered, his voice steady. "Tell them we accept their terms." Davis looked up, shocked. "Sir." "Send it, Lieutenant." The communications officer turned back to her console, fingers trembling as she transmitted humanity's surrender. On the view screen, representatives from a dozen alien civilizations received the message with expressions that ranged from smug satisfaction to utter indifference. "Transmission sent and acknowledged," Davis reported. "They want you planetside for the formal ceremony within the hour." Gray straightened his uniform. "Then let's not keep them waiting." The surrender ceremony took place in what had once been the United Nations headquarters in New York. Now it housed the Alliance Provisional Authority. Representatives from the major galactic powers sat on elevated platforms while humans were relegated to the floor below. Ambassador Xor of the Teltian Confederation spoke first, their translator converting multi-tone vibrations into flat English words. "The transition will be peaceful if you cooperate. Your remaining vessels will be decommissioned. Your colonies will be administered by Alliance representatives. Your resources will be allocated according to galactic need." The ambassador's compound eyes reflected the harsh lighting. "This arrangement is generous, considering your species' history of aggression." Gray stood alone before the assembly, his back straight despite the pain of old injuries. "We understand the terms," he replied. "Humanity accepts the Alliance's authority." A ripple of surprise moved through the assembled delegates. They had expected resistance, defiance, rage, the typical human reactions that had amused and annoyed them for generations. This quiet acceptance was uncharacteristic. Suspicious but satisfied, the Alliance representatives signed the formal documents. The occupation of Earth began the following day. 6 months passed. Alliance administrators found humans strangely cooperative. They worked in the mines without complaint. They obeyed curfews. They dismantled their own military bases. Then the incidents began. On Proxima Centauri Iowa, an Alliance garrison woke to find their security systems disabled and weapons missing. No technology had been tampered with. The access codes had simply been entered correctly. In the Aldebaran sector, 3 transport ships vanished. When found drifting weeks later, their crews couldn't explain the missing cargo or the gaps in their memory. On Earth, Admiral Gray, now working as a liaison between humans and their occupiers, was summoned to explain. "Your people are planning something," accused Governor Larrick, a tall, avian being with iridescent feathers that trembled with agitation. The compliance was a ruse. Gray looked genuinely confused. "We've adhered to every term of the surrender. Your own monitors confirm it." "Then explain the incidents." "Perhaps your technology is failing," Gray suggested mildly. "Happens to everyone eventually." Larrick dismissed him with a frustrated gesture. But the incidents continued and multiplied. Alliance representatives began to disappear. Supply lines were disrupted. Critical systems malfunctioned at crucial moments. And always, Humans maintained their innocence, pointing out that their technology remained suppressed. How could they possibly be responsible? 1 year after the surrender, Admiral Gray was awakened in the middle of the night by the sound of his door sliding open. A figure slipped inside, Lieutenant Davis, now working as a server in the Alliance headquarters. "It's happening," she whispered. "Just as you predicted." Gray nodded and rose, dressing quickly. "How many?" 80% of their leadership across all occupied worlds, simultaneously. They made their way through darkened streets to a hidden bunker beneath the ruins of an old museum. Inside, dozens of humans monitored communications from across the sector. "They never understood," Gray said, surveying the operation. "We let them believe our power was in our ships, our weapons, our technology." Davis smiled grimly. "They thought the suppression would cripple us. Instead, it freed us to use our real strengths," Gray finished. "Adaptability, deception, infiltration." For a year, humans had been learning alien languages perfectly, memorizing security protocols, studying behaviors, and exploiting the one weakness shared by all their conquerors: arrogance. The Alliance species believed themselves inherently superior, and thus could not imagine being outwitted by primitive humans. By morning, the Alliance leadership on Earth had been quietly removed and replaced by perfect imitators. Across human space, similar reports came in. The occupation forces had no idea they were now taking orders from humans in disguise. "When will they realize?" someone asked. Gray's expression was solemn. "By the time they do, we'll have spread too far. They took our technologies, so we became the virus in their system." The universe had never known fear like this. The quiet dread that spread through Alliance space as they finally understood that containing humans had only taught them how to be unstoppable. In trying to suppress humanity's power, they had unleashed something far more dangerous: humanity with nothing left to lose.